Village People singer Victor Willis dies at 74. The man whose voice made millions of people spell 4 letters in the air is gone, but the most shocking part is not just his death. It's how one joyful disco anthem became one of the most fought-over songs in America. Today, we're looking at the life, fame, struggles, comeback, and final controversy of Victor Willis, the Village People frontman, who helped create Y.M.C.A. and then spent decades fighting over what that song really meant. And by the end, you'll understand why his death is not just the end of a music story, it's the end of a cultural battle that started on the dance floor and ended in politics. Before the police uniform, before the mustache, before the world-famous arm dance, Victor Willis was not a cartoon character. He was a real singer with a real voice. And that matters because for years, many people remembered the Village People as costumes first and musicians second. But Victor Willis was the engine. He was the original lead singer, the voice, the frontman, the man standing at the center of a group that looked like a party but moved like a machine. The Village People were built around an idea that was almost impossible to ignore. A policeman, a cowboy, a construction worker, a biker, a soldier, a Native American character. It was bright, theatrical, and instantly recognizable. But underneath that image was a serious pop formula, simple hooks, huge choruses, and songs that made people feel included even if they did not fully understand the subtext. That was the genius. In the late 1970s, disco was not just music. It was a scapegoat for some people. It was freedom after a long work week. For others, it was a place to be seen when the outside world ignored them. For many older fans watching today, those songs were not just hits, they were the soundtrack of youth. You heard Macho Man, and suddenly the room had energy. You heard In the Navy, and suddenly everyone knew the chorus, but when Y.M.C.A. came on, something different happened. It crossed over. Weddings, sporting events, cruise ships, retirement parties, political rallies, football stadiums, European festivals, American family gatherings. It became one of those rare songs that did not need an introduction. And right there in the middle of it was Victor Willis. But here is where the story starts to twist. Because the brighter the costumes became, the easier it became for people to forget the person inside them. Record scratch. Screen cuts to black and white. Imagine becoming world famous, but millions of people know your outfit better than your name. That was Victor Willis's strange kind of fame. He helped create a cultural monument, but for a long time, he was hidden inside it. And that raises the question, what happens when the party ends, but the symbol keeps living without you? That answer takes us into the rise of Village People and the moment Victor Willis became bigger than he could control. Because the Village People did not just become famous, they became famous so fast that even the people inside the group could barely hold on. The Village People arrived at exactly the right moment. It was the late 1970s. Disco was everywhere. Nightclubs were becoming cultural temples. Radio wanted big hooks. Television wanted spectacle. And audiences wanted something that felt bold, colorful, and a little dangerous but still safe enough to dance to at a family party. That is the narrow line. Village People walked better than almost anyone. The group formed in 1977, and within a short time, they were everywhere. They were not just releasing songs, they were selling a fantasy. Each member looked like a character from a larger-than-life musical. They were playful, exaggerated, and unforgettable. In an era before social media, that visual identity was priceless. You could see one photo and remember them forever, but their success was not accidental. Y.M.C.A. worked because it was simple enough for everyone to sing, but layered enough for different communities to claim it as their own. That is rare. Most songs belong to one generation, one mood, one crowd. YMCA belonged to almost everybody. A child could dance to it without knowing anything. A stadium crowd could chant it. A wedding DJ could save a dead dance floor with it. A political rally could use it as an energy button. And a community that heard something deeper in it could treat it like an anthem. That is why the song became powerful and later controversial. Because when a song means different things to different people, sooner or later those meanings collide. But in the beginning, it was just success. Massive success. For Victor Willis, this should have been the dream. He had gone from singer and performer to frontman of one of the most recognizable groups on earth. But fame has a way of speeding up life until people inside it start falling behind. The Village People were a brand, a touring act, a television image, a record-selling machine. And when a machine gets that big, the human beings inside can get crushed. Willis eventually left the group around the turn of the 1980s, just as disco itself was facing a backlash. And this is important, because a lot of people think celebrity downfall begins with one scandal, one bad decision, one headline. But often, it begins quietly. The phone rings less. The crowds change. The music industry moves on. And the face that was once everywhere suddenly becomes yesterday's news. That is one of the cruelest parts of entertainment. The public remembers the song forever, but the artist still has to live the next 40 years. For Victor Willis, those years would bring struggle, legal trouble, addiction battles, and something many stars never get a second act. But before the comeback, there was a fall. And the fall is where Victor Willis stopped being just a disco icon and became a reminder of what fame can do when the applause disappears. Here is the part of the story that makes older fans pause. Because when we talk about stars from the 1970s, we often remember the bright version, the records, the hair, the costumes, the television appearances, the music videos, the big smiles. But the person behind the image keeps aging, keeps hurting, keeps dealing with choices, regrets, pressure, and silence. Victor Willis had success that most performers only dream of. But he also faced years of personal struggle after leaving the group. Reports over the years described battles with drug addiction and legal issues. These are not details to throw around for gossip. They are part of the larger story of what happens when someone rises fast, loses control of the narrative, and then has to rebuild, while the world remembers only the polished version. For audiences who grew up with celebrities from that era, this pattern is painfully familiar. How many stars from the 60s, 70s, and 80s gave people joy while privately fighting demons? How many became symbols before they had time to become stable? Victor Willis's story was not just man becomes famous. It was man becomes part of a global symbol, loses his place inside it, and then has to fight to be recognized again. And that fight became legal, because one of the most important chapters of Willis's later life was not on a stage. It was in court. He fought to regain rights connected to the songs he helped create. And that matters, because music history is full of artists who sang the songs, made the songs famous, and then discovered that the business side did not love them back. For many older viewers, this may sound familiar. A singer becomes the face. A producer controls the deal. A label profits for decades. And the artist has to fight for a piece of the legacy that came from their own voice. Willis's rights battle became a major part of his comeback story. He eventually regained significant control and returned to the Village People in 2017. Think about that for a moment. This was not a young artist making a comeback after one bad album. This was a man returning to a cultural institution decades after the world first met him that takes stubbornness, that takes pride. And maybe, most of all, it takes the belief that your story is not finished just because the public moved on. Most people would have let it go. Most people would have said, the song is famous enough. The past is the past. But Victor Willis did not. He came back. And when he came back, he was no longer just the man in the costume. He was the man trying to control the meaning of his own work. That is where the story becomes more complicated. Because once Willis returned, the world had changed. The audience had changed. Politics had changed. And Y.M.C.A. was about to enter one of the strangest chapters any disco song has ever had. The song that once ruled dance floors was about to become a soundtrack for American political rallies, and not everyone was ready for that. For decades, Y.M.C.A. was one of the safest songs in the world. You could play it almost anywhere. Nobody needed to explain it. Nobody needed to argue over it. It was just fun. Then came the 2020s. And suddenly, Y.M.C.A. was not just a party song anymore. It became strongly associated with Donald Trump's rallies, where the song played again and again, often with Trump doing his now famous dance. For some people, it was funny. For others, it was uncomfortable. For others, it was brilliant marketing. And for some longtime Village People fans, it felt like a song with deep LGBTQ cultural associations had been pulled into a completely different political world. This is where Victor Willis became more than a singer. He became a man caught between memory, money, politics, and meaning. Willis pushed back against the idea that Y.M.C.A. was written purely as a gay anthem. He argued that people had made assumptions about the song because of the group's image, the gay identity of some people connected to the band, and the culture surrounding disco at the time. Now, whether viewers agree with him or not, this is the key point. Victor Willis wanted control over the meaning of his own song. And that created tension, because once a song becomes part of the public's life, does the writer still get the final say? That is a powerful question. Think about the songs from your own life. Maybe there is a song from your wedding, your first car, your military days, your college years, your first heartbreak, your first dance, your best summer. Now imagine the person who wrote that song comes out and says, "No, you misunderstood it." Would that change what the song means to you? Probably not, because songs do not live only on paper. They live in people. And Y.M.C.A. lived in millions of people in completely different ways. That is why this story is not simple. It is not just left versus right. It is not just disco versus politics. It is not just nostalgia versus controversy. It is about who owns culture once culture leaves the studio. Victor Willis seemed to understand the practical side too. The song's political revival made it visible again. Younger audiences who may never have searched for Village People suddenly heard Y.M.C.A. everywhere. That is the strange bargain of fame. A new audience can revive your work, but they may attach it to something you never expected. And then came January 2025, the Village People performed at a Trump rally before his second inauguration. Willis said people should give Trump a chance, while also saying the group would speak out if LGBTQ rights were restricted. That statement was not simple. It was a balancing act. He was not hiding from the political moment. But he also tried to draw a line. And that balancing act followed him into the final chapter of his life. Because by the time Victor Willis died, Y.M.C.A. was no longer only a disco anthem. It was a wedding song, a stadium chant. A gay culture touchstone. A Trump rally soundtrack. A business asset. A legal victory. A nostalgia machine. And a debate. One song. Too many meanings to control, but to understand why Victor Willis's death hit so many people, We have to look beyond the controversy to the legacy he leaves behind. Victor Willis died at 74 after a short but aggressive illness. That sentence feels plain. But the life behind it was anything but plain. He helped create songs that survived disco's death, changing radio trends, political shifts, generational taste, and decades of jokes. Most artists would be grateful for one hit that lasts 5 years. Willis helped make a song that lasted nearly half a century and still fills rooms. That is not normal. Plenty of songs become hits. Very few become rituals. Y.M.C.A. became a ritual. When it plays, people do not just listen. They participate. They stand up. They smile. They raise their arms. They become part of the performance. That is why the song is so powerful. It turns the audience into the band. And maybe that is why the meaning became impossible to contain. A normal song can belong to its writer. A famous song can belong to its fans. But a ritual belongs to everyone who performs it. That was Victor Willis's blessing and curse. His work became bigger than him. For older viewers in the United States and Europe, there is another layer here. Village people were part of an era when music felt communal. You did not just stream a track alone through headphones. You heard it at the club, on the radio, on television, at the wedding hall, on vacation, at a holiday party. Music lived in public. And Y.M.C.A. may be one of the last songs that truly belongs to public life. That is why Victor Willis's death feels bigger than the loss of one singer. It feels like another door closing on the 1970s, another voice from the disco era gone. Another reminder that the people who gave us the soundtrack of youth are aging, disappearing, and leaving us with songs that now feel both joyful and sad. There is something haunting about a party song after the singer dies. The beat is still happy. The chorus still works. People will still dance. But now, behind the fun, there is a ghost. That is the emotional truth of Victor Willis's legacy. His music made people move. But his life reminds us that fame is never as simple as the chorus. He had triumph. He had struggle. He had legal battles. He had a comeback. He had controversy. And he had the rare experience of watching a song he helped write become politically explosive decades after its release. Some fans will remember him as the policeman from Village People. Some will remember him as the voice of Y.M.C.A. Some will remember the Trump rally controversy. Some will remember his fight for ownership. Some will remember that he pushed back against what others said his song meant. But maybe the fairest way to remember Victor Willis is this. He was a performer who gave the world joy, then spent much of his life trying to make sure the world remembered he was more than a costume. And that is why his death matters. Not because everyone agrees about the song. Not because every chapter of his life was perfect. Not because the controversy is settled. It matters because his story shows what happens when art becomes culture. And culture is never clean. It gets loved. It gets misunderstood. It gets used. It gets fought over. It gets revived. And eventually, it outlives the person who made it. But there is one final question hanging over Victor Willis's death. And it may be the question that keeps this story alive long after the tributes fade. When Victor Willis was alive, he could still speak for himself. He could say what Y.M.C.A. meant to him. He could defend performing at political events. He could challenge assumptions. He could fight for rights. He could correct the record. But now he is gone. So what happens next? The song will continue. That much is certain. It will keep playing at weddings. It will keep playing at sports events. It will keep showing up in political montages. It will keep appearing in documentaries about disco, gay culture, pop culture, and American politics. It will keep making people smile and keep making others argue. That is the strange immortality of music. The person dies. The song keeps walking around. And in Victor Willis's case, the song may now become even more symbolic, because after an artist dies, the public often freezes them into whatever version is most useful. The nostalgic version, the tragic version, the controversial version, the heroic version, the scandal version. But real lives do not fit into one box. Victor Willis was not only the happy disco singer. He was not only the man who struggled. He was not only the rights fighter. He was not only the Trump-era controversy. He was not only the frontman in the police costume. He was all of it. And that is what makes this story worth telling. Because celebrity culture often flattens people. It turns complicated humans into thumbnails, headlines, and one-line memories. But if you slow down, Victor Willis's life tells a bigger story about fame itself. The world can love your work and still not know you. The world can dance to your voice and still forget your name. The world can turn your song into a symbol you never expected. And decades later, you may still be fighting to explain yourself. That is the modern celebrity trap, even for stars from the pre-internet age. Your legacy does not belong only to you. It belongs to fans. It belongs to critics. It belongs to politics. It belongs to history. It belongs to algorithms. It belongs to people who were not even alive when you made the song. And yet, Victor Willis still achieved something almost no entertainer achieves. He made something that refused to disappear. That is the final measure. Not the headlines. Not the arguments. Not the costumes. Not even the controversy. The final measure is this. When the first notes of Y.M.C.A. play, people still react. They still know what to do. That is legacy. And for Victor Willis, it may be the kind of legacy that is both beautiful and impossible to control. Victor Willis is gone, but the debate around his most famous song is not going anywhere. And maybe that is the point. Some artists leave behind songs. Some leave behind scandals. Some leave behind questions. Victor Willis left behind all three. If you want to understand how another famous song became trapped inside politics, fame, and public backlash, watch the next video on your screen now. Because the story does not end with Victor Willis. It continues every time a crowd sings a song without agreeing on what it means.